Hello and welcome to your post-daily news update for Wednesday, November the 24th. I am John Pollock, along with Wai Ting. We are here live from Canada, meaning it is the eve of nothing, unless you want to count Thursday. No Thanksgiving for us this week.
Unfortunately not, but I mean, we do have some Black Friday deals, hopefully, to look forward to. So, yeah, excited for that.
We absorbed the capitalist aspects of Thanksgiving in November,
Any excuse to spend money.
of course. How are you doing today, Wai?
Doing pretty well overall. Yeah, how are you, John?
I am doing swell. We are live today at youtube.com/postwrestling. How is it going so far?
I think it's going well.
Great.
If it falls apart a bit later, then it's all good. But we have some people here already in the chat room. So, what's going on, Andres Bella, the very first person to leave a comment on one of these live posts? So,
Historic.
If you're watching us live, say hi in the chat.
Well, subscribe to the channel. It's the least you can do. Get us to 10K. That's where we are marching towards. And we're going to get into several news items from today. We're going to start with NXT 2.0 from Tuesday night, where the War Games card has become more complete after Tuesday's show. And as we kind of discussed on Tuesday, they are in fact going ahead with 2 War Games matches, because joining the card is the men's War Games that will consist of Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, LA Knight, and Pete Dunne against Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes, Grayson Waller, and Tony D'Angelo. As Vic Joseph announced, it's the old school versus the new school. And I never thought that Pete Dunne would be old school by the age of 28 in NXT, but here we are.
I mean, at this point, he might as well be. Yeah. You suggested this a few weeks ago, and I didn't think that they were going to do it.
They weren't hinting towards it. There was nothing, but just looking at War Games, this is the only kind of story you have for at least the men's side of things. And it does give you the added benefit of having a lot of experienced hands in this match to really quarterback this whole thing. I think like this match, you have to look at that there is enough here to work with your lesser experienced talent that I think people should have, I think, measured expectations in comparison to past War Games in the NXT variety. But nonetheless, I think a match that could still be a compelling one.
In terms of like what this NXT 2.0 experiment is, it makes all the sense in the world. Matching, your inexperienced guys with your experienced guys. I just didn't think they would do it because it so like sways crowd favor over to the side of the veterans, as we have seen in the past when WCW tried the same thing. When Impact tried the same thing, the fans are going to definitely gravitate towards the bigger superstars and the veterans. And I suppose I didn't know whether or not that would fit in the current philosophy of what NXT 2.0 is and trying to get your brand new baby faces over.
What they needed was Paul Levesque and Nick Khan on opposite sides.
Paul Levesque and Nick Khan on opposite sides. Okay. New school, they would be perfect leaders, wouldn't they?
So I think like this is kind of like tailored towards that. I think you want the audience behind the veterans, but I think this also is able to lead you into a finish that this can be Braun Breaker beating Ciampa and setting up their inevitable rematch for the title down the road. That you could, like, this match is designed for those 4 more so than the others. And I could certainly see that being the big moment on the show, is Braun Breaker standing tall at the end of War Games.
What do you see for Johnny Gargano?
Well, let's get into that, because earlier today, Sean Ross Sapp at Fightful Select reported that Johnny Gargano, who we knew his contract is up December 3rd, has signed a 1-week extension. So he is there now at least through December 10th. He could sign a longer-term deal. He could not. But this at least ensures him not just working War Games, but also gives them one additional episode for the Tuesday coming out of it. And I imagine like this is going to come down to whatever his future is going to be. And if it's one where he is going to be moving on, I think you could use that Tuesday to do your one final Ciampa Gargano match, or do something to kind of write out Johnny Gargano.
Yeah. I just, it seems like a very similar situation to what Adam Cole had, doing just an extension to take him over to the next takeover. But I mean, it seems kind of assumed. I mean, anything can happen. And from the report from Fightful, it seems like they're still in negotiation. But do you see any other outcome for Johnny Gargano than leaving the WWE after this?
I mean, I thought it was telling that they did not hold off for a singles match with Carmelo Hayes. They got, Hayes pinning Gargano after last night's, or to end last night's match. I'm sure that they are negotiating, and I just look at, if you're Johnny Gargano, what is on the table, and if we're not privy to that, like, I don't see, if it was just NXT, I don't think there's much future there. I just don't know, for someone of his experience and what he has done in NXT, that beyond financial, I don't know what the incentive is to stay. And it comes down to what can be promised to you on the main roster. And quite frankly, I don't care what offer is on the table. It is a best case scenario at best that you can hope for going to the main roster, and what assurances that come with. I don't think they come with any assurances.
Agreed. Just looking at the way that these shows are structured. I mean, if I'm honestly, who, I mean, outside of Pete Dunne, I suppose, of the crop of guys that are on the side of the veterans here, what do you see? What do you see for like a LA Knight or even a Tommaso Ciampa long term in this company?
I think they are all in. I'd throw Roderick Strong into the same mix where Kyle O'Reilly is now. These are all about, they are there to enhance and help the younger crop that are going to be the long-term focus.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any like focused attention to any of them long-term. I think they are just there to be recognizable names that can hopefully bridge the audience of the previous NXT to this one, but their roles are pretty clearly defined on this show. Like Ciampa is there to keep that belt until they are ready to pull the trigger with Braun Breaker. Von Wagner is there to benefit off of an allegiance with Kyle O'Reilly, which we know his deal is also coming due in the near future. Like with Gargano, it's with Carmelo Hayes. Like all of them. With LA Knight, it's with Grayson Waller. Like, it's very easy to see who is, like, where everyone is slotted and what their defined roles are.
Everybody sort of has a mentor and a trainee.
It's like that first season of NXT.
Pretty much, yeah. What do you think about the selection of guys in the side of the new school, as they call them?
I mean, I would say Tony D'Angelo was the only one that was maybe a surprise that you included there. They're going all in with Grayson Waller of late. And I think, honestly, I think he has, it was that match, I think, worked it was, to me, a real spotlight on Tommaso Ciampa, who I thought was very good in that match, and working around a Grayson Waller who he has elements that I think would get your attention. I think he cut a fine promo at the beginning of the show, so I can see where they see potential in him. He is far from a finished product, but I think you can certainly see they see that in him. I see a lot of potential in Carmelo Hayes, and Braun Breaker is kind of the head of the class. So those three, I think, made perfect sense. Tony D'Angelo, we'll see. I think people are somewhat into the character. I don't think he's really clicked in ring, but I don't think that's a top priority either. It's placement and showing you that this character is a focused character that they want in your mind.
It continues to be my biggest point of interest, if there is any going into this version of NXT, is just to see the progression of these guys. I thought, Grayson Waller, considering, again, the amount of experience he's had, I thought he did a pretty decent job with Tommaso Ciampa in that match. And I think has all the building blocks of what they're looking for in this version of, superstar in their mind right now. I'm certainly curious to see what he does on a bigger stage. I will say somebody who I think is absolutely deserving of this push right now in this current context is Carmelo Hayes. I think he is fantastic in ring, fantastic on the microphone. Of the new crop, like I certainly feel like he's got the most feel of somebody who would have fit in the previous NXT as well as the present.
Yeah, I enjoyed that triple threat last night. I thought Johnny Gargano, I thought looked great in that match. Dunn had his moments, and it was all focused around Carmelo Hayes and getting that pinfall on Gargano. So just looking at the rest of the card that we got the update for War Games. So Kaylee Ray was inserted as the fourth member of the women's team that will be with Raquel Gonzalez and the tandem of who do we've got here? We've got Cora Jade and Io Shirai against Toxic Attractions, Mandy Rose, JC Jane, and Gigi Dolan, along with Dakota Kai. And they're going to do a ladder match next week because we haven't had enough of those of late, with Dakota Kai and Kaylee Ray, with the winner getting the numbers advantage going into War Games.
Yeah. I guess they just have ladders always lying around. It's an easy way to maybe attract a bit of attention for a TV match. And under in the hands of a Kaylee Ray, I definitely expect pretty decent result. Though I have to say, like, this is going to be the biggest challenge, much like the last ladder match was, with a relatively inexperienced roster. But I mean, you have a lot of veterans in there as well. So actually, I'm not really as concerned now that they fleshed out perhaps the rest of the card. Wasn't really a big fan of like the backstage skits. I just think they're so corny.
Have you never raged?
No, I have not. No, she felt like, maybe somebody who would have fit really well in the prior incarnation of the Riot Squad, just like randomly breaking shit in the back with a baseball bat. Yeah, it's that, and plus whatever Dakota Kai's trying to do with her new character.
Yeah.
Like like twitching. So everybody has something, this person has a skateboard, this other person has a twitch, this other person has a baseball bat. So their personalities, I guess.
It's nice to hear, though, that the company is allowing some people to have a twitch.
Exactly, the only twitch that is allowed in the WWE. Hey, I don't know how much you want to get into the rest of this card, but I'm curious about your thoughts on Tiffany Stratton.
So Tiffany Stratton just debuted on 205 Live last Friday. This is a Jessica Woynilko, who was part of the U.S. national team in gymnastics, and she's 22 years old. And this is right in line with the character introductions we are experiencing on NXT 2.0, where she is a rich daddy's girl playing tennis, where we never saw her.
To Taya Valkyrie's Frankie Monet. And the idea of, I guess, just kind of this like rich aristocratic, spoiled brat, but now a younger version, definitely kind of makes you wonder about the dismissal of a Taya Valkyrie. And, immediately I think, carries a whole lot of maybe negative expectation for, this Tiffany Stratton character, which probably is unfair. So I'm willing to see it. I think, the promo looked good. She sounded good, but I haven't really seen much. I haven't seen the match on 205 Live yet, so can't really comment on that.
It's only like a 3-minute match, so it's not like you're going to get I haven't seen the match either, so can't really comment on it. And then, just quickly, the rest of the card. So the Joe Gacy character, when he introduced it week 1, I thought, okay, there's some interesting stuff to play with here. And I quickly grew tired of the character, but I will say, if you're going to have like Odyssey Jones going after the cruiserweight title made no sense to me. I was like, why are we doing this feud for the cruiserweight title? For Joe Gacy, the way he cut his promo on Tuesday, that this division is about weight shaming and it's not inclusive. I thought it was like this cruiserweight title match, they at least made it make sense from Joe Gacy's perspective of how it discriminates against people, and thus Joe Gacy is getting this title match. I don't know that I guess you are now supposed to be rooting for Roderick Strong, who we were not supposed to, but he is a babyface for this program against Joe Gacy.
It made sense, I suppose. Like, yeah, the idea of the cruiserweight division being an example of weight shaming is pretty hilarious. But I think if you had any hope, like going back from where the Cruiserweight Classic was until now, like why even have a Cruiserweight Championship?
You can't look at this division with any expectation of what the Cruiserweight match division held at any point in the future. I would actually be surprised if Joe Gacy does not win this title, just for that reason.
I suppose, yeah, and then he can abolish the division entirely and call it something else. I wouldn't hate that, actually, because in the current NXT 2.0, in the current landscape of the WWE, there is no place for a cruiserweight branded anything. It's a black mark on your career to be labeled a cruiserweight.
They want a character that can make almost a parody of the division, and that's what you can do with Joe Gacy as your cruiserweight champion.
That would actually be kind of fun, but I mean, I'm sorry, like any semblance of credibility for this belt or this division, you're basically gonna have to throw away.
It's kind of a needless title at this point in NXT. And then
Mhm.
the hair versus hair match with Cameron Grimes and Duke Hudson. That was set up fine after last week. I like Duke Hudson a lot. I think he has a ton of presence. And Cameron Grimes is a fantastic performer. So I thought that they set it up nicely from last week's angle and had a nice segment with Duke Hudson in the barbershop as he answered this challenge.
I like Cameron Grimes' new look. You know, I like the shorter hair with like the wet hair. It's an upgrade for sure. It makes him look like a bit more of a star. So coming out of this, I'm assuming it'll be Duke Hudson losing the rest of his hair. I don't know how he's going to look with the shaved head, but at least for Cameron Grimes, the little bit of a chop off the tip there was certainly an upgrade.
So there. And yeah, we went over the Johnny Gargano story, and I'm gonna make a solemn promise right now that regardless of his status with this company, we have to refrain because there's gonna be just a barrage of Gargano escape headlines out there if he ends up leaving.
Yes. Okay.
Too easy.
Noted.
Raw on Monday night, folks. The egg, the mystery of the egg. It drew in a big way. Their highest number in 7 weeks, 1,699,000 viewers, 640K in the 18 to 49 demo. It was their best number since the draft on October the 4th, up 7 and 18% respectively from the week prior. Female viewership was up significantly this week, 33% in women 12 to 34 and 28% in women 18 to 49. And it was interesting. For most weeks, I'll go through the changes in each demo throughout the 3 hours. And usually they all drop in the third hour. We did see several demos, including the 18 to 34 audience, that grew in hour 3. The big exception was their oldest audience, their 50 plus demo, which is also their largest. It dropped 20% throughout the episode. So it was very interesting way that it was interesting to look at their largest concentration of viewers did not get into this episode and tuned out at a very high rate in comparison to most weeks.
Yeah. When was the actual reveal of Austin Theory as the culprit?
I think it was late in hour 2.
And do you think that coincided with a big amount of the drop off, or was it just hour 3?
It was pretty significant from the hour 1 to hour 2 drop and the hour 2 to 3 drop. Like they were all sizable. And then it equals like 20% throughout the episode. So I wouldn't even pin it on the reveal. It just seemed like this was a show that did not grab your audience that has been your most ardent viewership. But that said, that to me, it was like a negative you can pull out of this. But overall, this was a very good number for Raw. I would attribute a lot of that to Vince McMahon. I think maybe there was some curiosity over this stupid egg thing, and you were coming off the Survivor Series. So you had a lot of different factors here that I suspected would lead to a bump for this week's show. And they got a 7-week high. And this also correlated to Canada, which did just over 184,000 viewers, also their best number since the draft. So very few times us Americans and Canadians, we can all get behind something, but an egg hunt appeared to be that. Now, my question to you, Wai, is when you process this number, does this ensure a follow-up with Vince McMahon next week?
Does it ensure next week? So I don't necessarily think so. You know,
I think this is just one and done for this week.
I mean, his story seemed largely wrapped up after the reveal of Austin Theory, and then showing Theory respect, and then saying he hates snitches. I don't see much more for him story wise as a gimmick to reuse him. Again, we've seen that it's the law of diminishing returns, and I think Vince himself probably wouldn't want to overuse his own value on his own show.
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know.
But like, how long can you go? You know, do you go with Vince again the next week? Do you have him on a recurring?
It's always diminishing returns. And to Vince's defense, I mean, I do truly believe he does not want to be an on-screen performer and has not for years and years. But it is a quick fix, and sometimes this company they rely on their quick fixes, and it's not usually restraint that they exercise, but excess when it comes to one of those quick fixes, and Vince is one of them.
I mean, I think outside of the Vince appearance, it's the idea of a mystery being, you know, introduced that I think has a lot of potential value as well. But more importantly, I think anytime they just give an air of importance to an upcoming episode, anytime they promote an episode, that's about to come up, is either a big deal or gives us will give us some sort of result and reward. I mean, that to me is the lesson. So I don't know why they can't just apply that to like their actual wrestling itself. But yeah.
That was Raw. And we got the mystery on Friday of SmackDown that is built around who will challenge Roman Reigns next.
All right. Well, okay, we'll find out. Sure.
The TripleMania, the mystery match to determine the new mega champion. We now have 3 participants. So AAA had put out a graphic that included El Hijo del Vikingo and then 4 mystery shadows way. And unlike the Survivor Series, they had not made the announcements of the names and just not updated the graphic. These were mysteries. And now they have revealed 2 of those mysteries with Samurai del Sol, the former Kalisto, and AEW's Jay Lethal, with both cutting promos. So we have 3 names announced, and based on that graphic, 2 more names to come as they will be battling for this vacant title. I do not know what Jay Lethal is really going to mean in Mexico, in Monterrey, but I mean, just another AEW presence on this show.
I think it's grabbing a name that is receiving a bit of buzz right now, and maybe increasing some of the international flavor of a show like this and its appeal to audiences outside of Mexico. So, maybe it just shows perhaps the extent of the AEW AAA relationship, or maybe just Jay Lethal's own sort of ability to work elsewhere. Yeah.
And finally, tonight, Dynamite is at the Wintrust Arena in Chicago. And the matches that have been announced so far: CM Punk against QT Marshall, Bryan Danielson against Colt Cabana, Cody, Pac, Phoenix, and Penta against Malachi Black, Andrade El Idolo, and FTR. And in the TBS tournament, Jamie Hayter taking on Thunder Rosa. Are you expecting Danielson and Punk to bookend the show?
Danielson and Punk, you mean? Oh, okay.
One match starts the show, the other ends the show.
Yeah, I do think so. I feel like the more interesting match of the 2 is Bryan Danielson versus Colt Cabana in Cabana's hometown, of course, and a lot of story, of course, being put into this one, where it's the first time that they've faced each other in 15 years.
It's Wrestling Road Diaries, the match.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think you start off the show hot with an amazing crowd, and having Colt Cabana getting that hometown reaction, to me, has my most interest going into the show tonight.
Yeah, it seems like it would be very simple booking of Danielson's beating the hometown guy. Let's do that first. And then we end the show with Punk getting a big win.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I actually haven't checked it out yet, but it looks like a really good AEW video that they created just to kind of document some of the history here. If I don't want to shut that sound off, but yeah, man. So I'm interested in Dynamite.
Speaking of the AEW production team, did you watch the making of video for the Hangman Page riding in on a horse to Full Gear?
I have not yet. How is it?
It's pretty cool. It's just them on location in the middle of the night and kind of wrangling all the Dark Order members. And like rewatching this, I'll be honest, I watched it live that night. I didn't even notice the Dark Order running across the hallway in the Target Center, but that's there. Yeah, it was just a cool little shoot, and I think you'd enjoy watching it.
I definitely would. I love it when they can, kind of take us behind the curtain and show us some of the production aspects, because I think this is an audience that is very curious about every little facet of production here. They're certainly curious about the ratings. We're you and I are like, we loved hearing Chris Harrington talk a bit about the business side of AEW production. So I'll be checking that out for sure.
And we will be checking back with you tonight. We will be live at 10:15 p.m. Eastern Time, live for Double Ice Cap and Espresso members at postwrestlingcafe.com. We will be reviewing all of tonight's show from Chicago, and then back tomorrow live. Will we be live tomorrow, Wai?
I think so. I think today turned out pretty well. I want to say hi to everybody in the chat room right now, including John, a very special guest, a blast from the past. Gaurav Kumar is in the chat room.
Excuse me, Gaurav?
You just celebrity.
Redo the graphic. Breaking news: Gaurav, the post wrestling /law contest controversial winner, Gaurav.
I say Gaurav, this could be one of X amount of fake accounts that he has created. So I can't even be completely sure that it is him. But hello, Gaurav, and hello, everybody who is in here. We're going to try to do this every single day at 1 o'clock at youtube.com/postwrestling.
It's always fun when we change up the start time of things and who comes out of the woodwork. I mean, we've got Gaurav, Neil. I mean, what a pantheon of Hall of Fame listeners.
That is correct. Yeah. But hey, even though we're not celebrating it, happy Thanksgiving to all of our American friends, and wherever you may be celebrating. It's a good excuse to eat turkey and stuffing. Either way.
What's the go-to on the menu for you when it's like Thanksgiving? Yeah, I know you're not even a big Thanksgiving celebrator, but like you can still appreciate turkey.
Yeah, sure. Potatoes, turkey, stuffing is great. Yeah.
Stuffing is my number one. My mom makes stuffing that it's just she just makes me like a whole separate amount every year. It's all I want out of Thanksgiving is the stuffing.
Sure. Yeah. Cool. I'd love to try it one day.
Okay. That is Wai's tone of wrap this up. And that's what we're going to do. We'll speak with you tonight.